Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by the one and only Lachlan.
Dune trailer. That's right, a Dune trailer released, and we watched it. But we're not going to talk about our thoughts on here. We have our own separate thing that you can find on Patreon. We kind of react to the weekly releases of the trailers. I fucked this intro up so hard. I'm fucking myself.
Rolling. We have
hard.
rolling. It's free, by the way. It's free. It's also on a YouTube playlist that you can find under the playlists. It's also linked below this video. So trailer reactions you can find there. Then, maybe it's just that you've been on holiday for too long. Like when you were on holiday,
I'm still in holiday mode, you know?
Yeah, that is totally fine. I watched a couple of new releases this week. I watched Joyride. We might be talking about that one next week a bit more extensively. We'll see. I watched a film that's coming out in August, and I've already seen it premiered in Sundance, The Pod Generation. We'll be talking about that briefly. And I also caught the new Mission Impossible film.
This week, we are covering the weekly big movie that released. So let's segue into this really packed episode.
Yes, Lachlan, that's the thing we do. We do cover the big movie of the week. I love that. All right, let's cue up the intro and get into the show. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yeah, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dune Cam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
Okay, Lachlan, I'm not going to ask you yet about your holiday. I think I'm saving that for what we've been watching, or I guess what we've been writing.
Sure.
Oh, damn. He went into Top Gun Maverick. Dude, I just watched Born to Fly, the Chinese clone of Top Gun Maverick that they delayed because it kind of would have come out at the same time.
Sick.
The way that he took over those classes, got me gushing. But no, let's talk about the news and the trailers that we watched. You can see our full reaction there. We also watched Killers of the Flower Moon and Bob Marley. They had a teaser trailer for Bob Marley that was like 3 minutes long, and there was like a 1 minute long montage in it. It was so much of it. And in Killers, if you want to check out our non-spoiler review that we already got out from Gun about it, I think the trailer is decent, getting the hype ready, but maybe showing a bit much. But that's the trailers. If you want to hear more, video link below. But I do want to talk about something that has caught my eye, and that is that Greta Gerwig is set to take on 2 of the Chronicles of Narnia films for Netflix. We've gotten a movie adaptation of the first 3 of those total of 7 novels. Welcome on. Are you familiar, obviously, with Greta Gerwig, but are you familiar with the Narnia films? Have you seen them when you were a kid?
I am. I really like the story of Narnia.
Narnia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this, if I'm totally honest, because it's fucking Netflix, bro. Damn Netflix. And that has me worried that there are many Narnia books to
7.
adapt. At least the first... My phone started talking to me for a second there. It just said...
A Narnia fan?
In 8 minutes. Okay.
I mean, good to know.
My phone's
Good
a
to know.
Narnia fan. And we get a good first film, I guess, for kids back in 2005, whatever that film came out. But we've never had something successfully continue. And I think Narnia could be that. I think Narnia has enough stuff and substance in it to be the next big fantasy epic. I just want to see Peter Jackson do it.
Okay, interesting. Do you think there's an incredible amount of Christian themes in there, and I feel like Greta Gerwig would be someone fun to take kind of that on. I feel like it's not as fantastical as maybe something that Peter Jackson would be perfect for, because it is more of at least the first 2 are more of young kids, and I don't really know. I know that the third one is the one where they were on the ship and Will Poulter was there. I don't know what that one was about. I never watched that one. And then the next one is the Silver Chair, the 4th one, which I think a lot of people really like. I do own all of them. I've never read past 50 pages in any of them. But if they depending on what they adapt, do you think they start from the first book, or do they maybe start with a later one? You think so? If Greta is said to do 2,
then yeah.
I don't know. I think they just said that they're doing 2 Narnia films. They didn't say that they're rebooting the films. So I don't know because there's not the same characters in all 7 of those books. Some of them they all die. They don't. They go to heaven. It's a Christian book. But so no, there's different characters.
You've got 1, 2, 3 post 2000 Narnia films: Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I never saw that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen the third one either.
I don't even think I saw the second one either.
I think I've seen that one, but I only have loose memory. I do have vivid memories of the first one. It was one of those movies that I definitely remember seeing a bunch. And wasn't was it Tilda Swinton or Kate Blanchett? It was definitely Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton.
Some iconic stuff in there. Look, I'll definitely be watching. I think this kind of leads us a bit more into a new segment that I want to introduce in on the podcast, and that is discussion time. The title is pending, but it's discussion time. Discussion time. So my question is, Lachlan, should Arthouse directors work for mainstream blockbuster movies too, or should they stick to their lane and just the Arthouse crowd that's not making a ton of money? Examples here, before we get into discussion mode, is some as of recent, Greta Gerwig. She's also doing Barbie, so she's kind of molding the two together. We haven't seen it yet, so I don't know how much of a success that is. But also Barry Jenkins doing the live action prequel to the 2019 version of Lion King, and someone like Chloe Zhao, who won Oscars for her film Nomadland, then taking on the MCU film Eternals. Now, long intro, short? No, that actually wasn't short. Lachlan, what do you think about this?
I think it is completely valid. I totally think that art house directors or independent filmmakers should be allowed to do blockbusters.
Yeah.
And I have one really good reason, and I only have one reason. Do you think they should, or are you kind of in the same, they should stay in their lane, don't even bother going?
Everyone should stick it to their lane. Now, I feel like blockbuster cinema is getting more franchised as it gets along. And if there's no unique voices that are willing to stand out, because once you are in the machine, in the big turning machine that you can't stop and you can't steer, you're essentially just steering the big machine that's on a roll. You do need someone who has enough of a unique art house voice to maybe bring something interesting into these, a bit of spice into blockbusters. So I feel it definitely adds to it. I don't like it when it's someone like James Cameron who gets obsessed with Avatar and is basically only doing that for the rest of his life, when I feel we could get a lot of different things out of him, but I guess we're just getting a bunch of blue sauce for the rest of his days. So I'm a bit torn. It really depends. I wouldn't say that Nolan is someone who's art house, but he has famously done the one for me, one for you, similar to maybe someone like M. Night for a while when it worked for him. You go back and forth.
You're literally on my reason. There are plenty of filmmakers who wouldn't have made their most, or wouldn't say their most, but one of their most successful films if they didn't do the one for you, one for me mentality. There is a lot of filmmakers who have to make a film for a company before they let them do their own thing.
Yeah.
So Christopher Nolan's a perfect example. We wouldn't have Inception if they didn't do The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let him do that. He did Prestige, which was great, wasn't commercially successful, but they fucking killed it with The Dark Knight. So Inception comes along. Another, Spike Lee. He's notorious for having a one for you, one for me mentality, and it works for him. He has some absolutely, unfortunately terrible films, which are mostly the ones he does for other companies. But then he comes out with Black Klansman, and it's fucking dope because he wants to make this movie, but he had to go and do What did he do beforehand? He would have
Old
done
Boy, of course, but just before.
that was ages ago, right?
That was ages ago, yeah. Let me actually have a quick look. It was 2013, Old Boy.
Well, there you go. Had the bit of a.
I thought that was longer ago,
wait.
but I guess it wasn't that long ago.
I mean, it was so bad that he had to do like music videos and. Now he's been doing music videos forever.
Yeah.
But
he's doing
yeah,
a bit of all.
like a one for you, one for me mentality is a really good way of being able to make your film that you want to make with more money than you would probably get if you didn't already have a commercially successful film.
Yeah,
Chloe Zhao is a great example of someone who had a pretty good run of like successful independent films, then did Eternals and was absolutely trashed on. And what is Chloe Zhao doing now?
I think she does have like another film in the works, but I forgot what it is.
Hamnet. Director Hamnet. The story of Anges, the wife of William Shakespeare, as she struggles to come to terms with the loss of her only son. Hamnet. Okay, cool, sure.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Paul
no, that's
Mescal.
the movie. Paul Mescal and
Jesse
and
Buckley.
Yeah. Lachlan just dude, save it. Paul Mescal hype is my forte. You can't you're treading on my territory right now, Lachlan.
Sorry.
Look.
Let me go get hyped over something else.
Did you see that video of Paul Mescal training? I was like, dude. And then it was like another really old video that was making the rounds on social media of Harrison Ford working out, and I was like, oof, young man or Harrison Ford is going at it. But I feel like a counter argument to this would be kind of the A24 route that some directors have gone on recently, namely Robert Eggers and Ari Aster, who both had like 2 films that were big, that didn't cost a ton of money, and then they made like 2 movies that cost a shit ton of money that then bombed. And we haven't really seen what the consequence of that is. Obviously they got to tell The Northman and Beau is Afraid. That was like the thing that they wanted to do. So they go back to, it doesn't need to escalate. Like, I feel like currently Hollywood thinks its budgets need to. Like, even this latest Mission Impossible film costs like $290 million. It's crazy. And it's not all just inflation. So I don't know. I don't know if there's obviously they're not really selling out to make a more mainstream product, but I feel like with The Northman, they were hoping for maybe a bit more of the mainstream attraction for it. With Beau is Afraid, that was never going to be that. To answer your question, should they? If they can, but if there's not a lot that they get out of it, if it's just completely selling out to make a product that any other person could have done, then I feel like it's definitely a waste. As it is with most questions, there's a bit of nuance in there.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not listen to anything you just said because I discovered
typical.
that Chloe Zhao directed a trailer for Diablo 4, and I was watching that.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. That's so random. Okay. Why? Does she know the game? Is she into gaming or?
Great question. I'll go ask her. Back in a second.
Sure. Yeah. Because all the nomads are out in the land of Australia. I mean, you never know. Again, you watch 300 episodes of One Piece. I'm never questioning anything ever. You could totally do it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about I watched 300 episodes when it came out. I haven't watched it in literal years. There's just so many episodes now that I just can't do it.
I saw someone yesterday with a big old One Piece shirt. But that wraps it for this week's discussion time. So let's get to what we've been watching. All right, Lachlan, I'm eager to hear what you were up to in the week and a half that you were on holiday. Tell me about it.
I went on holiday.
Yeah. Wow, riveting content. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
That was
so
fun.
Good,
so
good.
You just relaxed?
Yeah. No. So I went oh god, that's so funny. I was wondering how long I could hold that for, but it was just too much. We went down south with my partner. We went down to...
We don't want to hear about that, Lachlan. It's
Sorry. Forgive me. We went to the southern part of Western Australia, not all the way down south. We went to a place called Margaret River.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous area. Ewan, if you want to pull up Google Maps and type in Margaret River, you can kind of have a look at it.
River.
And it's full of wineries and beautiful beaches, but obviously right now it's
beautiful.
Winter. So I mean, I can show you like some photos that I took of where we went.
We can pull them up on screen here as we talk about them.
And we can describe them as well. So here's me on a rock. Here's me on a rock taking a photo by the ocean. It's a gorgeous location. It was super windy, like super windy where we were. You can kind of see it in that video that I'm showing you on the screen. How windy it was. Like the everything is just like you can see my jumper just like blowing around. But it was lovely. We ate a lot of food. I shit you not. Like we ate a lot of food. And we watched a couple of movies as well.
Interesting.
So if any of you haven't been around the podcast long enough, I might have told this story, but my partner and I, we've gone down to Margaret River multiple times. It's one of our like favorite places to go. And one time we went down there, I made her watch all of the Star Wars movies. So in an act of revenge and to make it fair, she was allowed to pick the movies we watch. And we watched 3 rom-coms.
Oh, okay. What rom-coms did you watch?
So we watched 50 First Dates.
Yes.
We watched Me Before You.
Yeah.
And How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
I have seen, I think, all of those as well.
You've seen them all?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So it was a hard time for me because I'm not a rom-com. I'm not a rom-com guy, unfortunately. I'm just not someone who enjoys romantic comedies. The only one that I enjoyed was probably the Adam Sandler one.
Yeah, that one's kind of sweet.
Because it's Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
I do enjoy that. Yeah. And Drew Barrymore. I love Drew Barrymore. And there was a lot of cameos in that film that I found quite funny.
Yeah.
But out of them all, I would say that How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days probably the best film out of all of them. But the best movie was 50 First Dates.
Yeah.
And the only other thing we watched, because we went to a place called Mickey's Open Kitchen. And it's a deconstructed Japanese place. And they make the food in front of you. You have like 7 courses. And when we went there, I realized that Tanika hadn't seen the menu. So after going to like this restaurant where they have a bunch of people making food in front of you in a kitchen, they come out, they describe the food to you, they tell you about it, they get like pairings of like wine and whiskey and sake. Like it was great. A lot of money. I spent like $300 there. The 2 of us for like a 7-course menu.
Yeah.
And I was like, we have to watch the menu. We have to. Because you didn't see that? I was like, you have to watch this. This is like great. And she's like, yeah, it was good. So we watched the menu as well because it was like a perfect pairing. So we made this joke that like they were picking, the person next to us was a food critic because they kept critiquing things quite heavily. They're like, this wine doesn't go too well. It's too acidity or whatever. We made the joke that I would make the pairing, like how they pair like wine and food together. Like I would pair a movie with each like dish that comes out.
Yeah.
So I'm the movie pairing guy at the kitchen. So yeah, we watched 4 movies while we were there. And I had a great old time.
But yeah, Lachlan, maybe we can throw up some pictures from your time down there. But I was also kind of busy with heaps of stuff. But I did make the time to go to a couple of press screenings. And I watched the Pod Generation. Really odd movie that is like slightly set in the future. It's with Emilia Clarke and Svetel Ejiofor. I'm so butchering that name, but you know him from his roles in, I guess, 2012, The Martian and 12 Years a Slave. That's, I guess, what he's most known for. But here he's the husband to his wife, they live in the future, and it's like completely rid of any sort of nature. So he's more of like a purist. He like is a biologist and like grows his own plants and stuff like that. And it's basically the dilemma of them having a kid. And in the pod generation, they can grow the entire kid in like an egg. And that's the whole movie. But it has like a bunch of ideas that it never really basically gets into in a really interesting way. And they kind of flip-flop around with the characters' motivations, that it ends up being like really messy. Again, interesting sort of premise, but doesn't really execute on it. And Joyride, dude, probably the funniest movie I've seen all year. I know we are still getting like something like Bottoms from Emma Seligman, who I really love. Last film, Shiver Baby, was incredible. But Joyride, just a really raunchy comedy that's like so much. Like, have we gotten a movie that is similar to Hangover since The Hangover? I can't think of one that kind of comes close. And this one like goes there, and it's actually like incredibly funny. It had me like laughing out loud like so much. Like I can't even count how many times it was. So definitely go give that a try. It should be out in a bunch of places soon. And I also caught a couple more things, but I won't be getting into them on here. As you know, link below or on Patreon, everything for free as well. You do get an extended what we've been watching for this little silly boy who can't contain to just watching, like Lachlan, 4 movies in a week. No, it has to be 25 or something like that. But I'll be talking about The Blackening, Sick of Myself. I also caught all of Only Murders in the Building. Not a huge fan, I can already tell you, but they did send me season 3. That's why I caught up with the first 2 seasons and a couple of more things. But yeah, that's it for what I've been watching. So let's get to the big movie of the week, Insidious, The Red Door. Lachlan, can you read us the logline?
Yes, of course. Ethan Hunt and his IMF team embark on their most dangerous mission yet, to track down a terrifying new weapon that threatens all of humanity before it falls into the wrong hands. Yes, Ewan, follow me here. I know where I'm going with this one. With control of the future and the fate of the world at stake, and dark forces from Ethan's past closing in, a deadly race around the globe begins. Ewan, your mission, if you choose to accept it, contains a confronted by a mysterious, all-powerful enemy. Ethan is forced to consider that nothing can matter more than his mission. So if you choose to accept it, because this will self-destruct in like the next 30 seconds, not even the lives of those he cares about the most, or Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls in the wrong hands. That's a very short version of that. Ewan, fucking Insidious, The Red Door. I was never going to see it anyway because I fucking saw Mission Impossible was coming out. So I went and saw that movie instead. So we're not doing Insidious, we're doing Mission Impossible.
Hostile takeover, heisting the podcast. I know, I see you just added the entire section for Dead Reckoning Part 1. Lovely. Love to see that. I guess we're not doing Insidious Red Door. Cool.
No.
It's not a great movie anyways. No, don't delete it. So much work went into it.
I'm going to delete it.
But yeah, I watched that one. Wasn't great, but well, spoiler alert, it isn't great. But let's talk about Mission Impossible. That is such a long logline. I see there's 2 different versions to this. One of them is the IMDb one. The long one was the one from Letterboxd. So the Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls into the wrong hands. That's the part 1 to this 2-parter series with Tom Cruise continuously trying to almost kill himself with these crazy stunts. Here I also heard, I feel like it's bound to happen at some point, but they're probably pretty safe jumping off cliffs with a motorcycle. Can't be that bad. But yeah, this movie is quite long. It's 2 hours and 43 minutes. Feel like the next one has to be longer again, because I rewatched all of the Mission Impossible films. So, by the way, talked about this last week on my bonus What We've Been Watching thing, if you're interested in my thoughts on that. But they've been longer each segment. Like the 7th one, just like gradually increased. So it has to be longer than the last one. I guess you already caught this, Lachlan. I didn't know that it was out, because like for most people, it is not out until the day after this podcast comes out, we will be talking spoilers in a minute though, but you will be warned before we get into that. So far, for I guess the critics who've seen it, it's been received pretty well. 3.9 on Letterboxd, 8.3 on IMDb, and an 81 on Metacritic. And like we previously mentioned on the show, it had a budget of $290 million. So it's got to make a shit ton of money to break even. Lachlan, what did you make of this latest installment in the Mission Impossible series? By the way, I accept the mission, by the way. I never accepted.
Okay, well, it's self-destructed anyway. So
yeah, so it's long gone.
You had no choice.
But you said it's okay?
It was okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that Mission Impossible Fallout may have set the stakes quite high for what a Mission Impossible movie could be, because that was a really good film back when I watched it. This film, similar to another part 1 that we have watched fairly recently in the
Spider-Man?
Spider-Verse.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
It suffers the same thing. It doesn't feel complete. And that's obvious because it's a part 1 of part 2. That was always going to happen. But I just don't think that this film is wrapping itself up neatly for me to kind of wait. Infinity War had a thing where it was like, here's the big thing. Now you got to wait a whole year until we get the
Fast Text as
one.
well. Brilliant ending. Everyone's in jeopardy.
I liked this film.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunately got the one issue that John Wick 4 didn't have. And it overstays its welcome with action.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Because I feel like recently Indiana Jones also had like a bunch of sequences that the action was a bit too long, because I feel like they also went like, no budget, like there's no budget constraints here, just do what you want, and they extended it a bunch. I think a lot of the action is actually like really charming because it's like based in character stuff, but it is quite long. I agree. Was there something specific that doesn't work for the action for you? Because I noticed that like the intercutting different bits that were happening at the same time, it really dragged, like especially the really big sequence with the motorcycle. We're not talking spoilers just yet, but that sequence was like really, really, really long until we get there.
Which one?
The one with the motorcycle, up the hill.
Oh,
like,
right.
It cuts back to Ethan a bunch.
It's the like for me. So for me, to like summarize it, the film is fine as a film. It's completely fine. But the two critiques I have is that one, it feels like incomplete.
Sure.
Incomplete.
Yeah, incomplete.
It doesn't feel incomplete. Just due to the fact that it's a part 1 of part 2, and that's fine because I just have to wait for the part 2 to come out before I can be like, yes, okay, it's a finalized story now. We've only got one half of the story. The other part is that the action overstays its welcome, which sucks for a Mission Impossible film because you're going in to watch Tom Cruise jump off a mountain. But it's not that. The first one that I noticed it was the car chase scene.
Yeah.
That goes on for
it's really long.
Very, very long time. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, why are we still here? Why are we not doing more? Why can't we have more of Rebecca Ferguson? Because there's a pretty intense scene that happens later on, and it would have been more impactful if we had more time with her.
Yeah.
We don't have that. We don't have a lot of time of character building when we know that the characters are at their most vulnerable right now. So they decide to do more action than make it more character, and that sucks, unfortunately.
I think that's kind of the issue with part 1s and 2s, that you essentially got one bigger story that you drag out over a longer runtime, which doesn't lend itself. There's not like sometimes not more happening, but just the one things that are happening are longer. And once you just get like longer extended bits to something that the finale ultimately like feels kind of a bit lackluster, which I didn't feel as much with. I think this summer, who's had like a 2-parter, which was this film, Fast X, and also Spider-Verse, and there might be another one even. This one I think does it best. Where I minded it the least, that it just kind of a continued story. But looking at the rest of the franchise, the way you talk about it, like Fallout, obviously the last one set like a high standard. Do you think it falls just short of that, or where does it rank in the rest of the franchise for you?
If I'm gonna rank it with the rest of them, I'd probably say number 2 is all the way at the fucking bottom.
Yeah, agreed.
He's trash. Maybe like Mission Impossible 1, then 3, or and then it's like, okay, so 2's right at the bottom. That's a fact.
Yeah,
We're agreeing. 2 right
Mhm.
at the bottom.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fuck that stupid film to bits. Then we go.
Wait, I do have a list for you here, by the way.
I would probably go again, just to reiterate, just in case you didn't get me the first time. Number 2, right at the bottom.
Very at the bottom.
Right at the bottom. What did I give that? Did I rate 2? I gave it a 1 star. Nice.
Wow. Okay. I gave it a 2 star. I don't think it's that bad. It's like so over the top and different that it's kind of funny at times. Like the amount of
God, I hated
flips
that
he
film
does.
so much.
Yeah, it's not great. I'm not a fan of John Woo.
Okay. 2. Oh man, I haven't watched them in a while. Okay, so I'd definitely go Fallout at the top. And then
Yeah.
I'd probably go Ghost Protocol, Dead Reckoning. Yes, Dead Reckoning, Mission Impossible 1, Rogue Nation 3 and 2.
3 and 2. Okay, so you got 3 very much at the bottom as well. I feel like 3 has a great villain with Philip Seymour Hoffman, but the rest of it isn't like as great. I have Fallout at the top. I do really like the smaller stakes of the first one. Worked really well for me. And then Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol, like everything between Rogue Nation, this latest one, Mission Impossible 3, and Ghost Protocol, you could pretty much interchange them. I think that they're on the same level of quality of a film to me.
I think I'm getting Rogue Nation and 3 mixed up.
Well,
yes, I am.
Okay, yeah. 3 is the one with Philip Seymour Hoffman and the explosions in your head.
Switch it.
And yeah, Rogue Nation is the one that introduces, I think it introduces Rebecca Ferguson. Look, the thing is, in Ghost Protocol, he also already goes rogue. He does go rogue in pretty much all of them.
Which one has Jeremy Renner in it?
I think from Rogue Nation onwards, he's in it. No, he's already in Ghost Protocol. No. Ghost Protocol is his first one. And then in Rogue Nation, he's more of like the main, also one of the main guys. And then, yeah, he's in it from there on out. Well, I guess he wasn't in the latest one.
Yeah, I will have to rewatch them all to give you a definitive answer.
That's fair. I did rewatch them all, and already Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol are blending into like the same movie for me. It's really hard to distinguish. And like, okay, so maybe look, before we talk spoilers, I want to bring up discussion time again. Discussion time. It's discussion time. Is
discussion time.
Mission Impossible the most solid franchise that we've ever gotten? Discuss.
No.
What beats it?
Human Centipede.
It is pretty solid, although the shits probably aren't. I still have not seen a single. I refuse. I don't want to. Like, this has to be a punishment for something, but I'm never going to see that film unless anybody.
Joke aside.
Look, the two things.
Solid as in the most
consistent. The most consistent.
Consistent?
Yeah.
See, okay, so I had an argument with a colleague a few months back about James Bond and Mission Impossible. And there is a clear winner out of the two.
Yeah, Mission Impossible, right?
I said James Bond.
No, James Bond is so inconsistent. Like,
no, but I'm not saying consistency, right? I'm saying
peaks?
It's evolved.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it also has like
into something way better.
It has like 4 times the amount of movies in it, so.
But Mission Impossible obviously hasn't been around as long.
Yeah.
But has obviously got a different audience going for it.
Yeah.
Now I prefer James Bond because I prefer like super secret spies and being cool and shit instead of just running away from stuff. But I will continuously go back to watch the stunts in Mission Impossible. Like, the whole reason I got excited was I know that they threw Tom Cruise off a cliff and like he is basically just a CG character in every other scene except the action scenes.
he's not showing up unless it's something with action. He also recently
unless
said
there's action.
he also recently said that he'll like continue acting and doing this until he's like in his 80s, which is crazy. It's crazy.
Good luck to him.
Yeah.
Whatever juice he's drinking, I want it. Because man is absolutely crazy when it comes to doing stunts. I'm sure his insurance policy is like
it's through the roof. Yeah, I do have two franchises that I would kind of list here. Also, I do have in the discussion section, I linked like a Wikipedia article to all of like the biggest franchises. And to me, the ones that stood out were Toy Story, because even 4, I feel like wasn't that big of a like downward trend for this. It's just really consistent. And the other one, maybe a bit more controversially, because people didn't love the second one, Guardians of the Galaxy. Those two are like pretty consistent to me. I mean, it gets more complicated once there's more than like 4 movies in a franchise. Both of those don't exceed that at the moment. But like Star Wars had some stinkers. All of the Disney princess stuff had stinkers. Harry Potter, like the Wizarding World, MCU, Batman, Transformers. Didn't even have one good one. I was gonna say Lord of the
Rings, but then I realized the Hobbit is part of that franchise, and it fucking ruins it,
Again, James Bond, great movies in there, but also pretty bad ones. Avengers, there's Age of Ultron. Although, like, there is the second Mission Impossible film.
And I was gonna say, this is the outlier. It's such a massive outlier. I think 2 is not a great film, but I still think that like Rogue Nation is better.
Like I feel like it is like there's an argument to be made that it is like one of the most consistent franchises. Maybe just because I really enjoyed my time rewatching them. Although they have like a cheesy nature to themselves.
G.I. Joe. It was shit from the start.
Yes, it's very okay. That would be a whole different argument. Like what's consistently shit. Because like then maybe Twilight is like the most consistently mid. But yeah, that's that. I think that's that argument. I would argue that yes, potentially Mission Impossible is the most consistent franchise in its quality. Even if it dips with 2, I feel like it's a lower dip than a lot of other franchises do with their worst outings. But that closes the discussion into promptu discussion time. It's done now. Let's get back to spoiler talks. Spoiler talks about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, a really long title. Where do you want to start? Spoiler time. If you haven't seen it already, get out of here. Get out. Mission, if you choose to accept it, is to go see this movie for the next 3 hours of your life.
How funny is it that it's artificial intelligence?
It's the entity, dude. Okay, so I already sent to people out.
Is so funny.
It's already sent to people out who don't want to hear spoilers. But if you go in, have like yourself a drink and drink every time they say the entity, you'll be shit-faced by the end. It's like
you'll be shit-faced 20 minutes in.
It got so funny like early on. Because they overused the term so much. I just found it funny. That's like, to me, this movie obviously like is going into it's a bit more serious in parts, like in the overall thing, than I feel like pretty much all of the other ones are, even if there's like big bombs that go off. Because it feels like once this weapon is used, there's no going back. It's just like completely fucked. And it hasn't really felt that way before, because it also has like a lot of like this is an idea that's interesting outside of this film, and it's also one of the first movies that is tackling like I don't know, that's using AI of its recent state. I don't know. I guess there have been a bunch of AI movies, but it feels oddly like on a quick turnaround for using AI as the villain here. Did you like the villain, the entity, so far, or
what the fuck is the villain? I don't know. Like
I don't know.
It's such
it's your fate.
You don't have any bad guy to latch onto. The only bad guy you can latch onto is
Do you think robots latch onto?
What's his name?
Let's not go down that route.
Adrian.
Sebastian. No, it is
Sebastian.
Gabriel. Yeah, Gabriel's the bad guy. The guy who has in the flashback for a hunt.
You need to have a physical bad guy. You can't just have a sunken artificial intelligence that somehow is getting a radio signal out of there and is connected to everything else. if that's how I'm reading the story. But like you have to have some physical object that's in there, and that's Gabriel. He's the bad guy in this film, not the entity. Also, let's agree to not call it the entity for the rest of the podcast.
What do we call it? E? Let's do some
ET.
E. Let's do some E.T.
ChatGTP. Let's call it ChatGTP the entire time.
ChatGTP. Okay. So I feel like there's a ton of characters in this movie, and most of them are used well. I do also like the return of someone like Luther. That dynamic between Simon Pegg, him and Ethan Hunt works kind of well. Like I feel like one of the best sequences of the film is that thing in, what is it, Abu Dhabi or Dubai, like at that international
Abu
airport.
Dhabi.
Like the face replacement thing, leading them astray. I think it's pretty tense. And it also uses ChatGPT in the most interesting way of, like, tricking them, playing with their emotions, kind of playing into, hey, how powerful is this thing actually? And them figuring that out as they go is pretty thrilling. So I feel like that would be my favorite sequence in the whole movie. What did you think about like that pretty much the opening thing there?
I thought the airport scene was quite fun, especially with there being a bomb, and Simon Pegg's character has always been a standout for me. Benji has always been just like a fun character. He's the the slapstick guy, the comedic guy in any of these films, because he's bringing this light-hearted natureness to him. He's quite soft and delicate. And obviously then you have that compared with Ethan, who is the most unemotional man ever, going through one of the most emotional arcs you could think of by having another one of his love's interests die. But you know what they say? Move on as quickly as possible, Mr. Hunt, because as soon as...
you know what?
As fucking soon as Elsa is dead, it's just like, Grace is my everything. I must protect her with my life.
There's this like moment that worked really well for me, because essentially the ideological idea of the one Ethan Hunt is, it's essentially like one against the many, and he doesn't care for his life. It's like she goes like, "Oh, I don't even know you," and she's like, my life is always going to matter less than yours." And I was like, "Damn, that's a line. That's intense." And I feel like he doesn't just. It works for him as a character that he says that, because he lives that as well. It's not just that he's trying to impress this little Brit over there and get into her pants, but he actually means it. And that is interesting for the character. I feel like Tom Cruise has never given me much as this character, but I don't fucking need it. It is still like really thrilling. It's so much fun. I did have a ton of fun with the sequences. Whenever it did go, like there's a ton of just in the room dialogue, and it's supposed to be like, what does this ChatGPT thing mean? And that just gets stale really quickly, and it just gets funnier and funnier as you go on, because it's so ridiculous. And that drags the movie down a bit, because I feel like, especially in Fallout, they just had something that kept everything going from scene to scene kind of seamlessly. And here they feel like they're jumping around a bit more. Also in time, like the amount of flashbacks you get for, well, it's not a ton, but like for Ethan, I don't think he needs that backstory with Gabriel. I don't think he needs to have like his initial thing to get into, because Gabriel is not the main villain. So it gets a bit conflicted.
Yes, he is.
I guess he is. I mean, it would be really funny if, like, the G in ChatGPT stands for Gabriel, and he's the bad guy after all.
Yeah.
What do you think about the cast? Anyone else apart from Benji who stands out to you?
I mean, no. I've always loved Benji's character, but other than that, I mean, I'm not here for the story at all. Like, I'm here, and it's the same with James Bond, I guess. I was never in the story for James. Like, I was never in James Bond for the story there.
You're never in James Bond? Huh?
I'm never in James Bond.
Right.
I'm coming back from holiday mode. My brain's still fucking restarting.
You're 007 inside.
Oh god.
Just had to do cheeks.
But Mission Impossible still delivers and over delivers on its freaking stunts, man. They're just so good. They're just so good. There's just something different about Mission Impossible stunts.
Yeah, and I feel like the one that they hyped up the most was one of the ones that I wasn't that hyped about. Yeah, because they hype it up, he goes up, and then he flies off. It's incredible what he does actually, but the way that they use it, it's like cut away from him. Like once he's opened his parachute, there's nothing more that they do with it, because the way that he enters that train, he has every bone in his body broken. He breaks down the door. It makes no sense, and it's played for comedy.
He should be dead.
Yeah, plenty time over, but he's Tom Cruise, baby.
Yeah.
Dude, in Mission Impossible 10, it actually is like revealed that there's just like 100 clones of him that just get replaced. He's actually just purely digital. But yeah, that's crazy. And I was hoping for a moment where he actually needs to land on it, on the train, but they never do that, because maybe it wasn't. I feel like it probably wasn't possible for him to like do the stunt where he lands on the train. So it was like, no, can't do it, because someone else has got to do it, or we got to do it differently. No, I just got to fly in, feet first into the wall there. So yeah, I feel like the train sequence was a bit like too much of back and forth. Was that one of the other action sequences that you thought were too long, or was it mainly the car chase?
It was at the end when jump, run, climb through this carriage.
No.
Jump.
No, the thing is, you are still just like petty that we still have not gotten anywhere close to a good Uncharted movie. And there's that one sequence with the train as well.
I saw the trailer where they're hanging on in the carriage, and I thought, oh, that's giving me a lot of Uncharted vibes. But yeah, I mean, we haven't got an Uncharted movie yet, so I can't really say anything.
He's living in denial. Yeah. What else is there? What do you think about?
No, I live in Australia, not Egypt.
Oh my god. Kenneth Branagh is making a movie about you. Death on Denial. Yes. Okay, so Hayley Atwell, new character here, someone who's a bit different from like not having a super badass comment, but someone who's a bit clumsy, who's capable, but a bit clumsy when it comes to the agent work, which I found kind of interesting in parts, but then also it didn't really fully work at times. What do you make of her character? Because I feel like Cruise and her had a ton of chemistry, and that's rare because Cruise doesn't have a ton of chemistry with a lot of women. What do you think?
Because she's young.
She yeah, I guess she's young, but
I thought halfway through the film, I was like, are they gonna slowly kill off the old Mission Impossible team and bring in a new Mission Impossible team to like replace them? This got me thinking.
Yeah.
Who is gonna replace the rest of the team? All right, it's discussion time. She's
bringing out an impromptu discussion time. Jesus, I feel like
it's a discussion
Chat
time.
GPT should be on the team.
Okay, we are making a new Mission Impossible movie where we have to kill off all the old guys and bring in a new team. So we have to kill off Tom Cruise, okay?
Tom Cruise is killed off?
He's killed off. We have to have a new Ethan Hunt.
Jeremy Renner also needs to be killed off.
Ferguson
it can't be
killed
him.
off. Well, no, we're just talking about the main four in this film.
Yeah, but
Rebecca
he was
Ferguson, Tom Cruise, Sean Penn, and Ving Rhames. Those are the four that we need to kill. Okay, one's already been done for us. Rebecca Ferguson, R.I.P. She's done.
Yeah.
Let's not do Tom Cruise first because he's the big boy money. Let's start with Vin. So we need somebody who has charisma and style points and is just cool without having to do
Ryan
anything.
Reynolds.
I would rather shoot myself in the face than have another Ryan Reynolds movie.
No, it's like, it's Mission Impossible Free Guy.
No, it's called The Adam Project.
The Adam Project.
Stop with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. I'm prepared. This is kind of hard to do. To come up with someone.
So, I have an idea.
Who's another hacker man?
I have an idea.
Okay.
Austin Butler.
As not a replacement for someone else, for Vin?
No, for Vin.
For Vin.
Austin Butler.
Okay, I'll go along with it. Okay. Yeah.
Go along with it. All right, cool. Let's move on to Simon Pegg. All right, we need somebody
I feel like
who can do... Yeah?
I want a female role in here because I feel like there's a dynamic that you could have play between Vin and Benji. There's a sexual chemistry that they have a bit, like something that's going on there. So we do need that. I mean, they could be gay, of course, but I feel like we go for it because it was so funny that they kill off Ilsa before Grace comes on because, like, hey, they can't have more than one attractive woman on the team at a time. There's a limit, man.
And
there's a limit.
On two opposite sides of the table in that one other scene.
Yeah. I would love to like shift in Vanessa Kirby just because I feel like she's a ton of fun in this already. Do you have anyone that comes to mind for Simon Pegg? Someone who's really quirky.
Hear me out. All right, ready? Keep your mind open. All right.
I'm so open right now.
Austin Butler.
I see. This is the bit where you name the same character over and over again. I feel like I do kind of already know maybe where you go with Tom Cruise, but I'll humor you. So we have two Austin Butlers. That's gonna be difficult to stage, you know. What about the leading man, Tom Cruise?
Austin Butler in Dune 2.
It's just that will make sense because then you could do a shot where he's shot out of a cannon and his head is already so rounded up and propped up with makeup. Something like that train sequence would make a bit more sense if he jumps in head first. He would be the headbutt guy. This was great.
Okay, look. In all honesty, I would probably, if I'm going to get somebody to come in to replace Simon Pegg, I'd probably want to get someone who's quite charismatic and funny. And that's really hard to do because Simon Pegg's humor is like super unique in some sort of way, at least in a British humor kind of way.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to go away from British actors. So
let's pick an Australian who does a British accent, please.
Yes.
Wait, Austin Butler's not Australian, right?
No,
he's
not.
I cannot figure him out. I just like his ethnicity is Elvis Presley.
So hear me out, all right? Someone who's like pretty popular right now and
Jenna Ortega
is pretty hard hitting.
Hard hitting.
Jonathan Majors.
It's pretty hard hitting. I see what you did there.
Oh, is that a bad joke?
God,
I realize a bad joke.
God, yeah, because I mean, we still don't know what. Like, it's still unfolding. I don't know if 100% what's going on.
Does anybody know what's happening?
No one knows. I feel like it's up in limbo right now.
What if we get Michael Cera to come in?
Michael Cera? He hasn't done anything in
I always
years.
say Sierra. I don't know why. I see C and I go C. Sarah.
I don't know.
This segment, similar to the film, has gone on for way too long.
Yeah, because I don't have any ideas. Because I feel like Tom Cruise for this role is kind of great and kind of what we need. So I don't know. I don't know who could replace him, and it wouldn't make sense to continue on. Because I feel like this series should just die with him.
Miles Teller.
That is actually not a terrible pick. But yeah, let's get back on track with the movie. And what else do we want to talk about? There's a search for the submarine. The whole key thing, or the amount of times that like someone has secured the key and then they lose it 10 seconds later. I kid you not. I think they do it like 15 times, maybe 20 times. So in my initial review, I just called it Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Because that's what the movie's about. It's just a bunch of keys. Yeah, what do you think about like the MacGuffin here in a purely action movie? You think that was kind of good, bad? Thoughts on the key?
Well, you have to have some sort of possession for them to go after again, because the enemy is completely digital. There's no, and they don't know where it is, so you don't have somewhere you can go. So you have to have something that you can get. But if it's one thing, you're going to be fighting over it for a while. So splitting it into two makes sense. Then splitting
Sure.
it into 2 and then having some rip-offs and counterfeits helps extend that runtime even further. But at a certain point, I'm just like, can we get these fucking keys already? Can we
Yeah.
just hurry up and do something? Because I was hoping they would do like a get the 2 keys, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 keys. Like, obviously shit happens. It's Mission Impossible. Shit has to happen.
Shit
2
has
keys,
to happen.
in they go. They find out the location of this entity. They unlock it, and instead of killing it, they fail.
Mhm.
And it enters the World Wide Web,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's just
And
one.
that's the end of part 1.
I-
Wouldn't
I-
that be wild?
It would be wild, and I feel like I don't know if you could do it in Mission Impossible on that. Oh, maybe you could, because they have that interrogation scene in one of them where like they show the guy that his bombs have went off, and they read the manifesto on air, and then it's revealed that they actually just staged that, and. I don't know, and here to Fallout go, because in that moment I forgot that it's staged for like a second. I was like, that's sick. There's like our heroes have failed, and here's what they have to do after that. And they never go that route with Mission Impossible. And I feel like the way this movie ends, it already feels pretty much like a victory. It is kind of a soft reset because he did get away. He has the whole thing to himself, and everyone on his team is kind of safe right now. And I did feel like it's a bit of a safe ending for this movie that has a lot of like stakes that it then probably gets back to in the second film. I don't mind stunts over story. I don't mind the MacGuffin chase. I just wanted a bit more back and forth, because what I really liked about the Mission Impossible films is that he sometimes has to compromise for a bit and actually like kind of work with the bad guys, and then will just try to navigate his way through, so he ends up on top, usually through like a really incredible stunt or sacrifice. And that formula for Mission Impossible works incredibly well. Yeah, so like, finale like Fallout was so thrilling. It was like smaller stakes with the potential of like huge disaster, but it was just like it was personal with his ex-wife there, and we don't really get that as much here. But ultimately, I think good action movie, right? That's what we can say. It's a good action movie.
Good action film.
Good action film. Anything
Good
else?
film as well.
Good
It's a
film.
fun
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Good film.
Anything else you want to add before we get to our ratings? No?
I have nothing, sir.
Okay, so Lachlan, what is your rating for Dead Reckoning Part 1?
Man, I feel like you're gonna trip when I say my rating, because you're either gonna think I'm lying or I'm taking the piss. But I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah, we were really focusing on like, the parts that didn't work for you. But damn, that's even higher than me. I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. And I really liked it. I had so much fun as well. But to me, I just kind of want to keep like 3, 4, 5, and 7 on the same level. Yeah, 6 was Fallout. They are kind of all like the same quality to me, so I don't want to give this one the edge. Although I really liked that car chase sequence when they roll over and like the back and forth between them tied up. It's just like, because that type of action stunt has been done countless times, car chases. But how can you make it? The only thing is that it's kind of like, it's like women drive bad. That's not like great in this. But yeah, I feel like I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt that, I don't know, she's British. She can't drive with, I guess, the car thing on the other side. That's not great, but the rest of the choreography was great. We also never talked about Paris, Pom Klementieff. Her character was kind of just like a bit of a meh thing, her arc, and it's done. She's dead. Yeah. Anything else we missed? I don't think so. Go check it out yourself. It's a good time. Well, I also enjoyed seeing Kittredge from the first one back, the CIA director. A bit more of a actual role in this one. But yeah, and the only thing left for, I guess, Mission Impossible is to pair it up with another film. Lachlan, what do you pair up in a double feature with Mission Impossible?
It's a quite simple one.
Yeah.
It's No Time to Die. There you go.
No Time to
The
Die.
last
Okay.
James Bond with Daniel Craig, and the last Mission Impossible with Rebecca Ferguson, most likely.
Mm.
We don't know. She might not be dead. They could just pull anyone back at this point.
Maybe the afterlife is just life. It's just like in ChatGPT. We never know. Could be. I'm going with a motorcycle film because the promotional stuff is leaning heavy into that one stunt. And I'm going with Easy Rider, a movie that I haven't seen myself even, but I do really want to see it. So, yeah, probably be watching that this week. But all the other stuff that you can watch this week is, I guess, this film, because by the time this episode comes out, this movie is not really released in most places, unless you live down under, like Lachlan in Australia. Then I guess I didn't know about this. Like, you really railroaded me. You were just like, hey, let's do Mission Impossible. I didn't know that you could already see it.
Hey, guess what? Guess what, though?
What?
We still don't have Asteroid City. That's in
really?
August 10th. Yeah, we
wow.
have Asteroid City.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing Past Lives tomorrow, and we are not getting that until August. So, again, I think we're talking about Joyride next week. That's in theaters now in the States and should be more internationally this week. I know for you, Lachlan, in Australia, it's also already out. But over in the States, in limited release, and then later in the fall as well internationally, is the Sundance Darling Theater Camp that I'm really looking forward to. There's a bunch of, I guess, the up-and-coming actors that are doing quite well in there, doing theater stuff. And as a, I guess, retired theater kid myself, I'm looking forward to this one. Anything else you want to add, Lachlan, or is the mission closed?
Discussion.
Yeah, give us feedback on discussion time. Do you like it? Should we sink it? Do you like it? Let's sink it like a submarine.
The most awkward way to end the podcast.
No, like and subscribe. New episodes every week. Check out the Wes Anderson bracket. The bonus videos link below. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Bye.